What if the red flag process had errors? Challenging mistakes by the police and court. So you believe that there are errors in the red flag process. Maybe there was a missed deadline or there was improper procedure. Can you challenge the case based on these mistakes? Well, the answer is yes. If there was a procedural error, if there was a deadline error, you can certainly make a challenge for a red flag case. There's got to be procedural compliance. There also needs to be legal representation, things like that. So if there are errors in what happened to you in a red flag case, they can certainly be challenged. So some of the potential errors that we're looking for, certain procedural errors, could be the police seize your firearms and they do so without a warrant. They can do that at times, but the police then have to submit that sworn affidavit within 48 hours. If they don't submit within 48 hours, that's going to be a potential error that you might be able to challenge if your rights are taken away and have the decision overturned. Another way is the court might fail to review the affidavit or make a probable cause finding as soon as possible within the time frame. And again, we've talked about that. The as soon as possible, it's not like it has to be done within an hour. It has to be done within 12 hours. It's as soon as possible. And so, if a court takes a few days to review it, maybe a week to review it, that might be okay. If a court takes 6 months to review it, that could be problematic. That's definitely not going to be as soon as possible. Another one could be that the initial post-seizure retention hearing is not held within 14 days. Now, there are times that you can ask to continue this. That can happen. But if in general the court sets it and it sets it 28 days later, it's not supposed to do that. That is a procedural error. There can also be failure to comply with, let's say, proper notice. You have a right to be notified of your hearing. So if the police file one of these and they file a sworn affidavit and they come and take your firearms, but then they don't give you notice of the hearing, that's going to be problematic. Additionally, the court has to follow the rules of evidence, so does the prosecutor. So if they don't let you submit evidence, or if evidence that was submitted should never have been submitted, these could be potential procedural errors that you might be able to challenge. And it's important with red flag that if there are procedural errors like these, then Indiana actually mandates that your firearms must be returned. So that's why the prosecutors and the judge and everyone really has to follow things and do things by the letter. Because if the prosecutor or the officer doesn't file that sworn affidavit, if the prosecutor doesn't send out notice, if the court doesn't set the hearing within the correct time frame, this can actually cause your guns to automatically have to be returned to you. So in conclusion, if there are procedural errors in your case, if there are issues, deadlines that should have been met that were passed, or incorrect things that happen in your case, this can be grounds for dismissal. It can also be grounds for the return of your firearms. So if you have any questions about red flag laws or what could potentially happen if there are errors in your case, call the Marc Lopez law firm. It's 317-632-3642. And remember, always plead the fifth.